3 reasons you age faster. After 40, recent research has fundamentally shifted our understanding of aging, revealing that your chronological age, the number of years you've been alive, is not the same as your biological age. Your biology's actual state, encompassing cells, hormones, brain function, and metabolism, is a far more accurate indicator of your health and vitality. The gap between these two ages, which begins to widen after the age of 40, is largely determined by 3 core biological processes. Understanding these processes is paramount for long-term health, a realization that often stems from observing stark contrasts in clinical practice. We see individuals in their 70s who are sharp, independent, and managing their health effectively, contrasted with those in their late 50s who are on multiple medications, experiencing significantly reduced functional capacity and appearing much older than their years. While genetics and life's complexities play a role, it is often the accumulation of decades of biological processes, either working for or against an individual, that distinguishes these outcomes. This exploration will delve into what these processes are, why they accelerate after 40, and, crucially, what can be done to mitigate their impact. The first noticeable change as we age is often a decline in energy levels. This isn't about the temporary fatigue from a poor night's sleep, but a deeper, more pervasive tiredness that becomes the norm, rather than the exception. Daily life starts to feel more taxing, and the recovery from exertion that once took a couple of days now lingers for weeks. This persistent exhaustion, which rest doesn't fully alleviate, is supported by scientific studies showing a consistent dip in self-reported energy levels beginning in the early to mid-40s. While not a sudden collapse, this gradual erosion over a decade can lead many to feel like fundamentally different people by their 50s, operating at a noticeably lower level. The second significant change is a reduction in physical capacity. Strength diminishes, everyday movements become more challenging, and activities once performed effortlessly, like carrying groceries or playing with younger family members, require more effort. Even simple actions like getting out of a low chair can become difficult without assistance. This decline in physical capacity is critical because it directly impacts independence, confidence, and overall quality of life. A key clinical measure, grip strength, which serves as a proxy for overall physical function, consistently shows that low grip strength in midlife is a strong predictor of future disability and mortality. This isn't due to grip strength itself being magical, but rather because it reflects the underlying state of one's body. The third and perhaps most impactful, yet least discussed, aspect of aging is a stepwise decline. Aging rarely occurs in a straight line. Instead, it often happens in distinct drops. An illness, injury, or period of chronic stress can lead to a failure to fully return to one's previous baseline. This event then establishes a new, lower baseline, and subsequent events cause further drops. For instance, an injury that forces a temporary cessation of exercise can lead to muscle loss, weight gain, and decreased confidence in movement, creating a cascade of negative physical changes not directly caused by aging itself, but by the compounding effects of these setbacks. This pattern of decline, once recognized, becomes unmistakable. The underlying reason why these same life events begin to leave a more significant and lasting mark after the age of 40 is due to 3 biological processes that progressively weaken the body's ability to recover. The first of these is mitochondrial dysfunction. Mitochondria are the energy powerhouses within our cells. As we age, we produce fewer mitochondria, and the ones we have become less efficient. This results in reduced energy production at the cellular level, leading to slower recovery from physical effort and a pervasive fatigue. Mitochondrial dysfunction is a well-established hallmark of aging, identified as a key biological driver in scientific literature. While a normal part of aging, this decline is significantly accelerated by lifestyle factors such as excessive sitting, consumption of ultra-processed foods, chronic stress, and poor sleep. Beyond energy reduction, damaged mitochondria also trigger inflammation, further fueling the aging process. Fortunately, mitochondria respond positively to exercise. Aerobic exercise stimulates the creation of new mitochondria, while resistance training improves the efficiency of existing ones, offering a tangible way to reverse some of this cellular damage. The second crucial biological process involves changes in our hormonal environment. After 40, hormone levels shift, impacting nearly every bodily function. Testosterone, important for both men and women, declines gradually from the mid-30s onward, affecting muscle growth, bone density, mood, and recovery. In women, the more dramatic shifts involve the decline of estrogen and progesterone during perimenopause and menopause, which have significant protective roles for the heart, bones, brain, and metabolism. The resulting hormonal changes can lead to rapid alterations in body composition, sleep, mood, and energy. Insulin resistance, where cells become less responsive to insulin's signal to absorb glucose, also worsens with age, exacerbated by sedentary lifestyles, excess body fat, poor sleep, and stress. This leads to unstable energy levels, increased fat accumulation, and potentially prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. Cortisol, the primary stress hormone, also tends to remain chronically elevated in midlife due to increased responsibilities and stressors. Chronically high cortisol breaks down muscle tissue, promotes fat storage, and suppresses the immune system, hindering recovery. While we cannot stop natural hormonal declines, we can significantly influence the pace of insulin resistance development, cortisol levels, and muscle loss through lifestyle choices. Resistance training is particularly effective in supporting hormonal health, improving insulin sensitivity, maintaining testosterone levels, and mitigating cortisol's negative effects on muscle. The third critical process is chronic low-grade inflammation, often termed inflammaging. Unlike acute inflammation, which is a beneficial short-term response to injury, chronic inflammation is a persistent, silent state that has no obvious symptoms but significantly contributes to age-related diseases such as heart disease, type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, and cancer. Several factors drive chronic inflammation. Visceral fat, which actively releases pro-inflammatory molecules. Ultra-processed foods, which disrupt the gut microbiome and trigger inflammatory signaling. Poor sleep, which measurably increases inflammatory markers. And chronic stress, which activates inflammatory responses. Alcohol is also a significant contributor, impairing mitochondrial function, disrupting hormone balance, and increasing inflammation. Chronic inflammation slows down recovery from exercise, illness, and injury, contributes to joint pain, and exacerbates mitochondrial dysfunction, insulin resistance, and muscle loss. As we age, our baseline inflammation tends to rise, and when it crosses a certain threshold, it can lead to accelerated decline across multiple bodily systems. The interplay between these three processes, mitochondrial dysfunction, hormonal shifts, and chronic inflammation, profoundly impacts muscle mass. Muscle is not just for aesthetics or gym performance. It's a vital organ that acts as a major glucose sink, regulating blood sugar and insulin sensitivity. Muscle contraction also releases myokines, signaling molecules that benefit the brain, heart, and liver, and even reduce inflammation. Sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass, typically begins in the 30s and accelerates after 50, leading to reduced glucose absorption, increased insulin resistance, higher inflammation, fewer protective myokines, and a decline in metabolic health. This muscle loss significantly increases the risk of chronic diseases. Furthermore, the hormonal changes of midlife, chronic inflammation, and mitochondrial decline all accelerate muscle loss, creating a detrimental feedback loop. Protecting muscle mass is therefore a central task of healthy aging. The brain is also significantly affected by these same three aging processes. Mitochondrial decline directly impacts the brain's high energy demands, leading to cognitive symptoms like brain fog, slower thinking, and memory issues. Chronic inflammation, driven by lifestyle factors, overactivates specialized immune cells in the brain, microglia, leading to neuroinflammation. This is a central mechanism in the development of Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia. Hormonal changes, particularly the drop in estrogen and testosterone, also impact cognitive function, with declining estrogen linked to increased risk of cognitive decline and testosterone supporting spatial reasoning and memory. Chronically elevated cortisol can damage the hippocampus, the area crucial for forming new memories. Encouragingly, exercise is currently the most effective intervention for reducing dementia risk. Aerobic exercise boosts brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, which supports neuron growth and connectivity, while resistance training improves brain insulin sensitivity and can be enhanced by myokines released from contracting muscles. The physical and cognitive aspects of aging are intrinsically linked. Working on one positively impacts the other. The critical insight is that these three aging processes do not operate in isolation. They feed into and amplify each other, accelerating biological aging, which is the rate at which the body accumulates damage and dysfunction, distinct from chronological aging. This divergence between biological and chronological age is largely explained by lifestyle. Individuals with younger biological ages consistently engage in regular movement, eat whole foods, sleep adequately, manage stress, and maintain strong social connections. These fundamental habits, consistently practiced, are far more impactful than any quick fixes or supplements. Beyond these biological drivers, specific lifestyle patterns exacerbate the aging process. A loss of purpose and structure, particularly after retirement without replacement activities, is linked to significant declines in physical and cognitive function. Populations known for exceptional longevity consistently report a strong sense of purpose as a key predictor of a long and healthy life. Closely related is social connection. Loneliness and social isolation have been shown to raise inflammatory markers and dysregulate cortisol to a degree comparable to smoking. Socially connected individuals tend to move more, eat better, experience lower stress, and sleep better, benefiting from a powerful layer of biological protection. Reduced daily movement, even for those who exercise regularly, is a significant accelerator of aging. Modern conveniences have systematically reduced the necessity for everyday movement, and prolonged sitting is an independent risk factor for mortality. The absence of incidental movement throughout the day, unlike the constant activity of previous generations, contributes to a less resilient biological state. Significant health events like serious infections, hospitalizations, or major injuries also contribute to aging. Each event leads to a drop in fitness, muscle mass, and cardiovascular capacity. If full recovery doesn't occur, these losses accumulate, accelerating aging beyond natural progression. Being as fit and metabolically healthy as possible before such events is the most powerful protective measure, ensuring greater reserve capacity and minimizing the impact of setbacks. Sleep, often undervalued, is crucial for bodily repair. Growth hormone release, waste clearance in the brain, immune system consolidation, cortisol rhythm resetting, and insulin sensitivity are all profoundly affected by sleep quality. Unfortunately, sleep quality often declines in midlife due to biological and circumstantial factors. Addressing sleep is therefore foundational to counteracting other aging processes. Diet, particularly protein intake, is another vital component. As we age, our muscles become less responsive to dietary protein. Signals for building and repair, a phenomenon known as anabolic resistance. This means more protein is needed after 40 to maintain muscle mass compared to earlier years, with current recommendations for active individuals in midlife significantly higher than general guidelines. Distributing protein intake across meals is also essential for optimal muscle building. Beyond protein, a diet rich in whole foods over ultra-processed ones reduces background inflammation, benefiting recovery, metabolism, and brain health. The focus should be on consuming foods that don't come in a package with numerous unpronounceable ingredients. It is important to distinguish between normal aging, a gradual, manageable decline with maintained independence and a stable quality of life, and the accelerated decline seen in many Western societies, where individuals become functionally old in their 50s due to chronic fatigue, significant muscle loss, and multiple health conditions. This gap between expected and actual aging is primarily a consequence of lifestyle, although socioeconomic factors also play a role. Aging itself is inevitable, and hormones will change, mitochondria will decline, and muscle and brain will require more dedicated protection. The goal is not to stop aging, but to protect one's baseline, recover effectively from setbacks, and maintain reserve capacity so that life's challenges have a lesser impact. The most potent interventions directly address all three core aging processes. Progressive resistance training, undertaken consistently, is paramount for building and preserving muscle, an organ that regulates metabolism, controls blood sugar, reduces inflammation, and signals protection to the brain. It also stimulates mitochondrial biogenesis, improves insulin sensitivity, and protects bone density. Daily movement, such as walking and avoiding prolonged sitting, maintains cardiovascular health, metabolic function, and the crucial incidental movements our biology depends on. Adequate protein intake, distributed across meals, provides the necessary building blocks for muscle maintenance. Prioritizing sleep as a physiological necessity regulates hormones critical for recovery, body composition, immune function, and cognitive health. Consuming whole foods over ultra-processed ones mitigates chronic inflammation and protects the brain. Finally, cultivating a sense of purpose, engaging with the world, and maintaining social connections are not merely emotional benefits, but have significant biological implications for longevity and well-being. These fundamentals, consistently applied, are the bedrock of healthy aging, not secret biohacks. They work because they directly support the biological needs of the human body. Aging is a gradual process, and those who age well are not those seeking shortcuts, but those who understand what is being protected and build their lives around preserving it.